Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the weekly walk-around tour video of my landscape here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Zone 7B. Of course, everything's showing off like crazy toward the end of April, and you can see that in the pansies here. Let's bounce around and see some interesting things for this week. I have a variegated Deutzia in the front garden space that has started to flower. It's mostly buds at this point. This was a tiny little 1-gallon plant that was put into this space last year. After it finishes flowering, it should jump up pretty quickly. This is a Deutzia scabra variegata, and great contrast actually between these white flowers and this variegated foliage. Sometimes light colored flowers on variegated foliage doesn't show up, but this one really does. Back here behind me, of course, a lot of the bulbs have finished flowering, and I'm in the process of putting in summer annuals. Lots of new perennials, lots of things. I mean, you guys have just an incredible amount of things are going in the landscape. Some of that has started already. Alliums we just have reached allium season though. Some of the other earlier flowering bulbs are done, but those are still going. Here's a Viburnum. Here's an example of some of the winter damage that we had this year. Not a cold winter, but one cold snap there in March. This is a Viburnum luzonicum. This variety is called Snow Joey. And you can see it has lots of flowers down toward the bottom where it was more protected. And up here at the top, I think all of the flowers got damaged. So that's what you're seeing there. It's just a little warmer near the ground, but where the wind was blowing across the top of it, it damaged the flowers. Most of the azaleas in the landscape are passing at this point. As soon as they're finished flowering, the ones that need a haircut will get a haircut, and I'll have several pruning videos showing all of the mid-spring pruning that I'm doing in the landscape. Okay, all right. So the ruby slippers oak leaf hydrangea has absolutely loaded up with flower buds. This is a great small, compact growing variety of oak leaf hydrangea this one can be kept much smaller. It can probably be kept 3x3 or 4x4. It can be pruned after flowering, but I don't really want to prune it all that often because the flowers do fade to almost a really, really dark pink. That's where it gets its name, ruby slippers. So that'll be fun to watch during the season. Holly's going to be in the way of the next piece. Come on. If you start touching her, she will just freeze in place. This is a Burning Love Lecothui, and in the wintertime, it went mostly green. All of the new foliage now is coming out and will be this kind of reddish purple color all during the growing season. Anytime it's actively growing, it has this color on it. I think we'll see over the next week or two that it'll become just a solid. The whole plant will be like this. And here's the flowers. Here's the flowers on them. You can see, a lot of these ericaceous plants, things in that blueberry family all have that kind of tubular hanging flower like that, which is kind of interesting. And then this blue-eyed grass, overnight, all the flowers close up on it, and you think that's just a big nothing. It's got a little bit of lavender here and there, but you're looking at the photo right now, or a little bit of video from yesterday afternoon. We get a little bit of direct sun on these. They open up, and they're really, really striking during the midday hours. Here's a variegated Lecothui called Bohemian Beauty, and again, you can see the flowers along the stem. It's got a good amount of them. It would have had more, but this one took a little bit of winter damage, but you can again see those downward cupped flowers on this Lecothui. This is Shining Sensation Weigela. I've shown it 3 weeks in a row. It's finally in peak bloom here. One reason I keep showing it is I have tried a lot of the dark foliage Weigelias in the past, in fact growing them at my own nursery, and this is the first one here in Zone 7B, almost 8A, that I've been thoroughly impressed with. The color holds up all summer long. It doesn't end up crispy. It seems to actually be kind of compact, whereas some of the other ones that were on the market have been on the market can get big really quickly. So I think I can control the height on it. The flowers are just fantastic, and it continues to have some continuing flowers after peak flowering. So I'm super, super impressed with this one, but this one's called Shining Sensation. I showed off most of the Encore Azaleas last week, or the week before, I can't remember, and I have 8 varieties in the landscape. Autumn Lily wasn't really doing its thing at that point. I've always been drawn to this variety. About every 10th flower or so has a little purple stripe on it like that. And I think white, just in general, is undervalued in the landscape. The flowers will fade to brown, and I know I'm going to hear somebody, down below say that. But as soon as they finish their spring flowering, I usually give them a little bit of a haircut anyway. I need to do the same thing on the front foundation, older azaleas. But this white one really pops in what amounts to kind of a dark space back here under Allura petalum. This space is pretty much all peonies. Right now, it is underplanted with some black-eyed Susans, and the black-eyed Susans will come up through these as these fade during the summertime. I get questions about all kinds of questions about peonies. Some of these were transplanted over here in a video. Some of them were in a package from Home Depot. I've got, I can actually count the flowers that I have here in this second spring season on 2 hands. Next year, there'll be a whole lot more. But you can see how last year the plants weren't this vigorous. So the plants this year are really building some energy. So as they go back to sleep later this year, when they come back next year, they will be very, very vigorous and absolutely full of flowers. So keep that in mind. It takes a few years to really to build that tuber up enough to really put on a big show, but still having fun with the few that I have. Someone in last week's video asked me to show an update on the Stellar Ruby Magnolia, and it looks fantastic. I did not see any damage on it from that freeze on March 13th until recently. It seemed to take a little while to show up. So there are a few leaves down in the middle of the plant that are definitely going to fall off, but it was minimal. It didn't take as much damage as other things. Took a little more than other things. No big deal, but you can see all the new growth on it. Tons of new growth. It is flowering, and it has lots of flower buds to open on it. But there's the Stellar Ruby Magnolia update. One other plant I want to keep an eye on during this 2022 growing season is this Screenplay Holly. This is a new introduction. Pretty excited about this plant. It's an interspecies hybrid between Ilex just means holly, Ilex integra and Ilex latifolia. Both of them are zone 6 hardy. This plant's been listed for zone 7 to 9. My feeling probably is that both of the parents being zone 6 hardy, it's probably zone 6 hardy as well. This already has about 6 inches of growth on it, and this plant just flies. I think that a lot of growers are going to want to grow this plant. I think a lot of people are going to want this plant. I think it's going to make a super fast screen, and I put it here to ultimately cover up my my neighbor's shed and make just an evergreen backdrop. But I want to keep an eye on this during the growing season, because here we are. It's only April 25th or 26th, and it already has 6 inches of new growth on it. So we'll monitor it over the next month and see how fast this thing actually grows after it's been in the ground for about 10 months. This has been a weird Snapdragon year for me. They definitely took some damage during the winter time, but now I have 15 to 18 inch tall, beautiful, beautiful Snapdragon plants, and so far there's exactly 1 flower spike. It is so strange. It's both sides of the path here, putting on so much foliage, which sometimes can be a sign that you're over fertilizing, over pushing things, that you're not getting flowers, but you're getting lots of green growth. But I really haven't. I haven't pushed these at all. I've done my normal, barely fertilized anything kind of a deal. So I think maybe here in the next week or two they'll put on a big show, but they're not far from having to come out of the ground, and the heat's going to now be problematic for them after the cold was. I've started planting some annuals over here. You will have seen that video for that salvia and gomphrena going in. You will have seen that before you see this. Got flat after flat after flat. You'll see the vegetable garden video shortly after you see this video, and more and more annuals and perennials going in here this spring. And I've got a ton of shrubs. Every little hole that you see in this landscape will be filled probably within the next 30 days or so. It's just kind of amazing how many things are actually happening here. So thank you guys for following along with the channel and these weekly update videos. literally kind of in between right now. We had the early spring flowering things, some of the late spring flowering things, some of the later blooming viburnum and other things will be showing off here in the next week or two. Thanks for watching.